start off with community news. Phipps Neighborhoods welcomed U.S. Representative Jim McGovern to the South Bronx to discuss the Bronx Impact Food Access Collective aimed at combating food insecurity. Our Bronx reporter, Kim Aline, brings us the details.
Organization Phipps Neighborhood welcomed Massachusetts Representative Jim McGovern to the South Bronx to discuss their initiative, the Bronx Impact Food Access Collective.
Today, a federal level official who oversees one of the most powerful committees in the country called us and asked us to show him where he could cut red tape.
The South Bronx is just one stop on the Congressman's countrywide tour to discuss different solutions communities are taking to address the issue of food insecurity.
I've been doing hearings, and I've been traveling around the country looking at models and community initiatives that I think should be highlighted.
Community leaders toured several sites in the South Bronx to understand the importance of food justice and access to nutritious and affordable food.
For Bronx families, and I think families across the nation, they have to make a decision every month if they have to pay for expensive. If food is very expensive, it's going to limit their resources for the other things, the other necessities in life. So it's really important that we figure out how we can make sure that we get fresh food that is affordable for all that need it.
Serving as co-chair for the House Hunger Caucus, Congressman McGovern says this conversation is part of a larger initiative aimed to end hunger throughout the country by 2030.
I have been asking President Biden to do a White House conference on food, nutrition, health, and hunger to help us not manage hunger, but to actually solve it.
Reporting for BronxNet, Kibben Aline.
And thank you, Kibben. In other news, Fordham University recently made history, voting in their first lay leader and woman as president. Our Bronx reporter, Arlene Makoko, brings us all the details.
For the first time since being founded 181 years ago, Fordham University makes history.
This morning, the Board of Trustees unanimously voted Tanya Tetlow as the 33rd president of Fordham University, effective July 1, 2022.
Citing her successes as a layperson president at Loyola, where she served since 2018, Fordham University's Board of Trustees Chair Robert DeLeo announced the conclusion of a nationwide search that brought in 150 candidates that were narrowed to 4 finalists, with Tetlow getting their vote of approval this week.
The search committee, which included 2 Jesuits, worked closely with Jesuit leaders, including the rector of the Jesuit community at Fordham, to identify candidates, both Jesuit and laypersons, with a deep knowledge of and commitment to the goals and ideals of Jesuit education.
Outgoing President Father McShane, whose tenure began in 2003, spoke on the significance of the announcement.
Since we were founded in 1841 by Archbishop Hughes, we've always had a cleric as the president of the university. And since 1846, 5 years after our founding, that president has always been a Jesuit.
Times have changed, though, and Father McShane pointed to her abilities in leading Loyola through a challenging fiscal and enrollment crisis, both skills they feel are right for the college as the pool of Jesuit priests continue to decline. He shared from 1,460 in New York 55 years ago to about 320 today.
Tanya is an extraordinary leader. I've known her since she was named the president of Loyola University of New Orleans. It's a great school in a tough situation. Tough situation being this: storm after storm after storm has come through, and so the school has had to have leadership which was visionary, practical, not afraid of being on the ground, not afraid of being in coalitions, and not afraid of building very strong relationships with neighbors and with the entire city.
Tetlow, whose parents met at Fordham University and whose father was once a Jesuit priest, talked about the deep significance of the college's mission to strengthen its Jesuit tradition. She also shared some of her goals as she prepares to take on her new role.
For me, being the first lay president at Loyola, it was an opportunity to remind everyone that given the waning number of priests among us, that we have to own the mission as lay people, or else we will lose it. And that was true before the leadership was turned over to lay people. So it's a very visceral reminder that we all have to understand who we are and speak in that language and teach that to our students, such that when they graduate, they each have a very eloquent and coherent answer to the question of what does it mean to be Jesuit educated.
For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
And thank you, Arlene. And that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We want you to stay with us because guess what? We are not out of show. Open continues right after this.